So I just want to make this video real quick. So it's going to be a short video about momentum and why you should only take certain plays even if you see ICC displayed on any setup, right? And this is what creates momentum within your plays. This is what gives your plays even more probability. At the end of the day, trading is a probability game, and your job is to ensure you have the best percentages month over month. So that means that includes win rate percentage, that includes profit factor. It should be 2 to 3, if not more. Win rate percentage with ICC should be above 60%, right? 40 to 50% if you're trading with 2 to 3 RR. Optimistically, you should be hitting 2.5 RR. So what I'm looking at right now is BTC consolidating on the 4-hour. There was definitely a lot of chop. I think the last video I made, I was targeting a low, and then we got swept. I think it was right here. I think it was right here. We got swept up. So what happened was I went into two plays, which I won't get into anymore because there's no validation. There's no A+ setup at this point. It's kind of just wishy-washy, but there was 2 times actually during the setup I took the other day. So I was going to retarget this zone for TP for a short, just because on the 4-hour, we got rejected down here compared to here. If we're looking at shorts, the 4-hour here was lower than this high. And so I went in and I saw that price was developing a break of structure to the downside. The problem was this was on a Sunday or a Monday, I believe, which was terrible because Monday was a holiday. And I remember speaking on Sunday or the last video about how if you trade BTC on the weekends or during holidays, like, you're more susceptible to a lot of exposure when it comes to smart money, when it comes to liquidity sweeps. And like, even though it was an A+ setup, we got swept here, and any shorts from this point on, that was like real conservative. So if they're using the 4-hour as a stop loss up here, let me correct myself. If you took the conservative trade here, which was on the 4-hour, this was the high at the time, then you also would have gotten swept, right? So there's 2 sweeps. Technically, I am still net positive with the ICC trade just because this was a 1 to 3, and these 2 trades would make up like these 2. Hold on, dude. Every time I record, like, my stomach starts like growling. Anyways, 1 win, 2 losses. 1 win was a 1 to 3 RR. The 2 losses were extremely small portions, which meant that I'm still net profit in total of 3 trades, and I'm still aiming towards an A+ setup as we speak. So what am I looking at this point? What can make BTC an attractive buy, whether or not you want to long or short, right? So this could go either way. It's currently Wednesday. It's currently Tuesday, May 26th. And so BTC is currently ranging around 75K. This morning, we saw a major fucking sweep here, right? So I wasn't in price at all. I probably looked at their charts for like 10 seconds every 2 hours. And like, I saw this sweep, and then I saw this move towards the end of the day when I went to the gym. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, this could also be an SMT if you're really thinking about like TGR trades type shit. But SMTs also work for ICC. I have it in the back of my head just because it's like an extra checkbox. But let me step away from that and just primarily focus on ICC. So on the macros time frame, so on the daily, if price decides to swing here, it would constitute this structure here as a possible bearish divergence, aka bullish reversal, just because even though we haven't broke structure on the high swings, prices would also be funneling into a pendant, which let me go ahead and illustrate. So you would see something like this, and it just means that nothing's really happening. Price is just being choppy, and it's just taking out a lot of stops. And that's usually what happens when price consolidates. Like, let's use it's not really a good example. Like here, I guess here, for example, like if we're looking at the 4-hour, like, we're obviously trying to identify structure, and price has been real choppy here if you're strictly looking at the 4-hour. And let's say you decide that price at this point means that with ICC, if you apply ICC, we broke structure to the downside, which created a low, versus here, which was the main support zone for buyers. So buyers couldn't hold this line. Sellers decided to break through it. Then the correction happened, and this was during the Clarity Act. I'm gonna keep bringing this up because of how important and crucial this is, right? Clarity Act went ahead and swept any of the people who decided to short the first indication, right? But also ICC applies here too. If you decided to use the indication, so buyers held up here and then sellers broke the support zone, this would be indication correction. This is a correction because it's lower than the previous lower high. And then after that was confirmed, aka the 3 candles closed out, price went into the indication range again and then absolutely broke down. Technically speaking, if I took a trade here, I would be looking for the indication range for a sell. Like if you want to be, if you like, honestly, it makes more sense that it would be down here. But the thing is, like, it didn't go down there. In fact, if you just held out, you would have gotten swept by fucking news. Versus if you were conservative and you took the initial zone, right? Because we're targeting zones. When it comes to ICC, you're either targeting the indication or you're targeting zone to zone, if that makes sense. When you're trading any other strategy, you're typically targeting highs and lows. Like you can also target highs and lows. That's perfectly fine. Or if you want to be if you're someone who's monitoring your trade and you know your discipline, right? You're literally just looking for local zones, right? Where you want to just set TP. Like I would definitely look for this zone, which is the initial indication zone where sellers at this point broke down and broke the support zone. And then after they confirmed it, they went to the next zone, which is this zone. That's typically how ICC does work. I don't think Size really said it in that way. Like he does say target the indication, right? And as long as market structure is sensible, that's the right word, sensible, meaning structure's like it's going down, right? You can obviously tell if you hopped on the charts for just 10 seconds, structure's going down, price is no longer reaching the resistance zone. It's actually getting lower, right? And then that's a telltale that if ICC stands true, we're possibly looking at the next zone down, which would be this one, right? And then the clarity act happens and you get swept if you held, if you didn't take partials here, yada yada. So let's go back and get back to the main subject, which is the next play. So I took 2 losses. I took the 1 hour stop. I'm sorry, the 1 hour stop loss. Where was it? Right here. I took the 1 hour stop loss here, and that one got played out. I was like, okay, that's just one loss. That's 33% of the total profit I made, which means I have 2 more plays in my pocket if I really wanted to make another A+ setup trade. We're kind of in a neutral zone, aka the consolidation zone, because price is kind of just itching around this area. It's like, what is the possible move now, right? We're not trying to chase anything. We want something that gives us proof that price can get to a certain point, aka here or here. But the only way to get up here, and I made these 2 lines because this is my zone. This is the zone where I want to set TP if everything occurs and we go up, right? If we want to get up here, we'd have to break this zone right here. Why do we want to break this zone and not just settle for ICC here? If that makes sense. Does that question make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to y'all. But like this illustration remains true no matter what. The question is, why take the trade up here than down here? Because the reason why I would rather take the smarter trade up here is because I know that on the 4 hour and the daily, price is getting rejected here by sellers. Sellers are in control as soon as price gets to this point. So knowing this, I need a clear indication that buyers have strength for the indication for ICC. If buyers have strength and let's say sellers retaliate, so we're back in the correction zone, or a retest, right? It can be a retest too. Sai does talk about this. It can be a retest so long as everything remains aligned, meaning the 1 hour is aligned, the 15 minutes aligned. Time frame alignment is crucial for ICC. So let's just assume it's a correction phase, right? If it's a correction phase and we start to see build up, right, and prices respecting support levels, then we can establish that this is the correction phase so long as the candles close out and buyers are now in control because they're changing the entire structure from this area to possibly this area, which can mean that we can start setting up for a long, which I would put here. And that's a 1 to 3.5 assuming we don't even go into range. If price ranges up here, that's 1 to 4, 1 here, it's 1 to 3. Then you'd have to consider like, hey, I'm thinking at that point, I'm like, yo, on the weekly, things could definitely turn bullish, and we could see like, we could literally see price surge up to the 80, mid 80s to, I wouldn't say the 90s, but for sure mid 80s. Like, there's a good chance if you really want to think that long. I'm more so thinking about time frame alignment just to get to this point, right? And that's a huge move. You have to consider that's a lot of power from buyers. So price would obviously need to mature afterwards, and then we'll see what happens from there. Why would we want to target here? Well, in case price decides to build structure and find itself making higher lows. Let me illustrate this. So this was the low, this was the lower high. If price decides to build a higher low here, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a little hint. Why do I say it doesn't mean anything? Because nothing happened here. There's no breakout yet. Because imagine this happens and then we go here, right? And then it just wicks up and then just takes out these guys who were sitting here for stop losses. Like, you're fucked because it's still consolidating, right? Now, if a candle closes here, the higher the better. If it closes here, I would consider that as an indication. That's perfect. I'm like, bet. If you bite me, if you grab me, I'm gonna bite you. Anyways, that was a random TikTok I saw. Anyways, so if it reaches above this point, that means that resistance level is broken. Price no longer respects the resistance zone, aka the sellers, and that we would be looking for a correction phase or retest. This is, at this point, I would consider a retest as long as time frame alignment is true, aka bullish, right? If it corrects, I would still look for it because I know it would just take a little bit of time to develop, and then it would start, retargeting the indication range, and then that's when I start to make my entry, so long as everything remains true, correct? Why did I mark this on the 4 hour and not this? To be very fair with you, like, this is okay. You know why? Because everything's still underneath this box. Like, if you think about it, the fact that I no longer mark this, but I mark this, you can still see where sellers rejected every fucking move from buyers. And that's perfectly okay. This gives you a clearer picture of anything where sellers are at, because they're sitting real comfortable here. But check this out. I'm going to go to sleep, so I won't know what happens here. But imagine if we start to see a gradual shift in momentum. That's a telltale sign to me that even though price is swinging down here in this box, on the daily, this is a huge box to consider because it's a support zone for this range, right? I don't really care about that if we're not seeing time frame alignment on the 4 hour, meaning it could be here and then it could just shoot back up and never come back, right? I don't care about that. If it does this and then comes back here, then hell yeah, I would absolutely take that and target this area. This is the 4 hour we're talking about. Like, it's going to look juicier on the 1 hour, right? Versus if we sit here and I wake up tomorrow, so 10 hours from now, and price just jumps up because it's a weekday and Bitcoin decides to shoot up. Who knows, really? And it decides to build structure, right? I don't care if it comes up here, if it comes up here, as long as it consolidates, I'm not trading. But this trade that I'm looking at that I want to be an A+ trade, if it comes up here and closes, that's a telltale sign to us that, hey, price doesn't give a shit about you guys anymore. We don't respect you here, but it's just a hint. It could literally be a sweep. So how do we confirm that? ICC, correction, right? Time frame alignment, continuation. Buy here, set TP, get off the fucking internet, go hang out, with your friends, watch a movie. Just set it, you're a swing trader, and forget it, right? And then set alerts, like up here. If you're a swing trader, you should be setting alerts, right? So I set a shit ton of alerts, start adopting the idea of alerts, because as a swing trader, you're not looking at the charts 24/7. In fact, you're probably looking at the charts for 30 minutes a day max. A max, really, because you should already see the obvious stuff. You should already see an obvious play. If you don't see it, walk away. And you should already see an A+ setup unfolding. Once everything's aligned and you're in your trade and the numbers look right, get the fuck off. When it approaches TP, if you're disciplined psychologically, mentally, you don't FOMO, you don't get scared, you don't get greedy. You just sit there, maybe consider taking partials, and then monitor price. If it still builds structure to the upside, you would then target the zone, right? That's what I would do if we start to see a change character from this point on. But I'm gonna go to bed. I don't see anything. I have no plays right now. I'm just looking for an A+ setup. For the downside, I would still look for the correction phase, and I would actually look for a low at this point. Let's see if the RR even fits. Let's see if there's good RR for this. So this is a super shitty RR, so I probably wouldn't even take the short here, to be honest with you. We'll have to see what price does from this point on. But yeah, that's my explanation to why I use momentum, why I don't take simple ICC trades, and why key support zones and resistance zones come into play, and how you could utilize them to take advantage and leverage your trade so that you have better probability trades, right? This is, for a better reference, check size course. I think it's the market structure course, like day 11. It's like an hour-long course, but he goes deep into market structure and momentum, like how you use those support zones, those key support and resistance zones to your advantage. But yeah, hope this video helps. I'm gonna go to bed. Peace.